Hello, I'm Menos Campbell, founder and CEO of Kimia and Kimia Reset. Thank you so much for joining us today for this LinkedIn Live event. I'd love to hear from you. So, write in the chat where you're dialing in from and share with me what element of digital transformation really grabs your interest. For me, my focus is on the pharmaceutical field teams, and I strive to help them feel confident about using digital technology to improve their engagement with healthcare professionals. Is the human element of digital transformation enabling people to use technology is what I'm really curious about. And to explore this topic, I've been inviting inspiring pharma leaders to learn from them and give them a platform so they can share their perspective and expertise. So I'm really delighted to welcome Venkatasbramaniam today, Global Customer Engagement Strategy at Novo Nordisk. Hi, Vanitha. How are you doing?
Hey Marnas, I'm doing great. And how about you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you here. It's Halloween, it's trick or treat, and I think I've got a treat for our listeners today. Um,
Good.
you
I
know,
hope it is not spooky or scary for the audience, our conversation.
well, we can be spooky and scary. Why not? Let's just open the can of worm if we can at some point in this
Good point.
conversation. So let me tell you a little bit about Vanita and how we met. Vanita is driven and passionate, full stop. She's driven and passionate in everything she does, but specifically in her work, she's passionate about digital strategy and communication and transformation, customer engagement, commercial innovation, and excellence. She has 15 years of industry experience and currently is responsible for steering the chronic disease franchise towards the rapid launch and commercial uptake using cutting edge go to market commercial strategies. She's very tenacious, an advocate of collective creativity and human collaboration. And Benita sees these as essential pillars to drive transformative change and bring in results and have impact. In her personal life, Venita is often found globe-trotting around various cities, embracing diverse cultures. And based on the photos I have seen, she is a brilliant cook as well. So, how we met? I first met Venita. It was in Nice at Reuters conference. It was last year, and we said hello and chatted briefly. And I saw her perform at stage and communicate eloquently. But we didn't really get to know each other until this year when we met in May in Dubrovnik. And I think what happened, both of us we were staying in the same hotel. We both decided we were going to arrive a few days early to explore the beautiful city of Dubrovnik. And we found that we had a lot in common and we loved experiencing the history, culture, and food with Veneta. I clearly remember the first time I tasted burrata was with Veneta. She said, "Manas, this you need to try this." And I'm so glad I did. And if anybody ever wants to know where's the best gelato shops in any European city, just ask Vanita. She knows exactly where they're located. So I was so delighted to meet you there. So I was going to say this is a live session. I encourage our listeners to ask Vanita questions. If Vanita says something you agree with her or you disagree with her, please write in the chat and tell us your views because that's the whole point of having a live session, right? To get your input to shape the conversation. So let's start, Vinita. I'm going to ask you a few questions, but before I ask the questions, I just wanted to remind everyone that here you are sharing your personal views and you're not representing views of your employer, right?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Marnas. And before you start, I just wanted to thank you for inviting me here. It's going to be a true conversation. It's a great pleasure to be in the session with you, and I was really looking forward to it. A great Halloween evening plan with Marnas. I think it's perfect. And when we chat, I'm going to give you a little bit of a treat based on just what you just did today. Wait for it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just so excited because I kind of like feel you and I talk quite freely and have a conversation. I just wanted to bring that conversation online so we can get input from others and shape this. And I just want to start asking you to tell me about why CX is so important and what's your views about what are the things that enable an excellent CX?
So let's start by telling what CX is. CX, for the world to know, is customer experience. And before we talk about customer experience, let's take a step back and talk about the word customer. And I was reflecting on this, uh, and you would probably agree that at some point we have all been customers, right? And what when we have, and why have we been customers? We have gone and sought for many products. So first of all, there is a need for us to purchase something. So we look for something that will meet our needs, and that's why we go and become a customer for a specific product that is being sold. And of course, the fundamentals of marketing, which is the four P's of marketing: there is a product, then there is a price for the product, then there is a marketplace where it's sold, and there is promotion. Now, when we go and seek for products as customers, and there are many products out there, what makes a specific product tick to us? It could be different things, right? One is, of course, the price. It could be affordability that makes us want to get that product, and it's also suitable for us. And then it's accessible, and that's why the place where you can get that product matters. But then the promotion part, right? And of the many products that is out there, why do we choose a specific products? Why does some products connect with us and many products fail? Then I go back to the fundamentals of marketing always, where I say, you have a brilliant product. 50% of marketing is taken care of when you have a great product. But the remaining 50% of marketing is the other three P's, right? Which also takes the stake in the whole game of marketing. So coming back to us being a customer and what takes us to a specific product versus other, I think customer experience could be a huge differentiator in the way products can connect with our customers. And for example, if you are able to deliver an experience to a customer that sets you apart as an organization from the rest of the products, then I think you have won in your marketing game. So with that basics, I think for me, some of the key enablers of driving customer experience is, if we have to put ourselves in the shoes of a customer, it's the convergence of three core pillars, and I call it the mindset, toolset, and skill set. And the reason being, the mindset is super key, because if you want your customers to look out for your product and think about your product as something that meets their barriers and unmet needs, then you need to think like they would like you. You need to think putting yourself in their shoes. What is it that connects with them? So having this mindset across the board and onboarding everybody on this mindset is a starting point. Then of course, when you have to market something to your customers or promote something to your customers, you really need to also know more and more about your customers. You need to understand what their preferences are, what their behaviors are, what do they like, what do they not like, what connects with them, what they don't like to even talk about. And then again, and this whole thing was working really well as long as we were mono channel, right? When we were only using our sales reps as to build relationship with our customers and to get to know our customers more deeply, it all works fine, because the human element that you are so passionate about, it has always been a plus point and a differentiator for a pharma company, because we invest heavily on our sales rep to go and build relationship. They're not just going and selling products, they're going and building relationship with our customers. And then why tool set is then important is, traditionally when just sales reps were going and visiting the customers, they did have some sort of aids, communication aids, to go and present to the customers. But with the advent of digital transformation, which we saw with what happened in COVID, suddenly sales reps just couldn't go and reach their customers. Then that means they couldn't continue to build the relationship. That is what it translates into. And that is where we also saw the importance of engaging with our customers using other means like the digital technology and the digital tools. And then But for digital tools to work, you need to have a set of tool set. Like suddenly the digital teams became super busy in COVID times saying, hey, can I do remote detailing? Can my reps actually send rep triggered emails because they're not able to meet customers face to face? Then suddenly there is a big need for a tool set, right? And then the mindset is there that I want to go and build relationship with my customers. If it's in person, great. But if I can't, I need my tools to go and connect with them and build relationship with them. So tool set is key. Then the third important lever is you can have the best tools and technologies in the world. You can have the best sales reps in the world. You can have Mike Jordan in the team. But if you don't have a football to play, and if you don't know how to play, or if you don't know how to use that tool, it's as good as not having the tools or the mindset, right? So for me, I think the convergence of these three elements, mindset, tool set, and skill set, come together in order to put ourselves in the shoes of a customer and deliver that experience that is meaningful and creates a high business impact as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you touch on really important points. I mean, I personally had an experience of using a service recently, and I just didn't enjoy it. The product was good, but I just didn't enjoy the experience. The communication was poor. I felt I was pulling. And I think the people who were providing the service were more concerned about how they look like and how much money they make rather than creating a customer experience. It left me with a little bit of a bad taste because I'm thinking like in future would I use their service? And I think on one aspect, yeah, the product was good, but the delivery sucked. And it just left me quite unsatisfied. And I kind of like think in contrast, sometimes I've had experiences that from the moment when I'm like purchasing something, or I purchased a car 3 years ago, from the moment I went to the showroom until now, 3 years later, every communication I have from this company, whether I'm talking to the service desk, to the salespeople, to even the person who opens the door as you go in, you feel you get greeted, and they uh, care about what extra step they can go to make your experience even more present. So I think the mindset of everybody in the organization that you touched on is putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer, feeling their pain, and then aligning ourselves as a collective group to address that pain. I think that is so key. And you're right. You can have the best tools, you can have the best processes, but if the people are not unable to use them, you might as well not have them because it just sits there idle, doesn't it?
Yeah, everybody needs help, and and especially we are in 2023, and
Yeah.
it's the best phase we are in, right, where there's so much going on, and it has to be channelized too, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think now there's much more power of social recommendation. Like if somebody doesn't like an experience and tell their network, people listen to other people's reviews and other people's feedback than they listen to the words on the advertising. So they reach to people they trust to get recommendation. And what other HCPs or customers say about a company matters a lot more now, especially if they're an opinion leader or a thought leader. So
Absolutely.
with that said, I'm just going to ask you to talk about power of the moment. You touched on this when we had a conversation about burrito and the burrito pizza we shared. I mean, for me, was my first. It was a really pleasant experience. The setting was beautiful in Dubrovnik. I have not yet tasted a burrito that was good as that one. So tell me about what's the power of the moment and why does that matter in relationship to customer experience?
It's interesting, right? We started with trick or treat, and it can trick this experience can trick us because you and I thought we connected over burrata, but let's flip that. Is it really burrata that mattered to us, that created that moment, or was it something else? Because I'll tell you why. Because it was also my first to have a burrata pizza, and
Was it?
yeah,
I had
exactly.
no idea.
And then I think we both were really excited to try something new. First of all, we were very open minded, and more so, we were quite hungry. And then
Yeah.
we were in a setting which was super nice. The ambience was super brilliant. First of all, Dubrovnik is such a beautiful place, and I think people like Dario who are listening to it is going to be super happy. And I think it's such a fabulous place. And the restaurant that we went was just overlooking the Dubrovnik walls, and there was a sea. We could hear the waves, and there was nice candle lit all over. We were sitting outside. We were hungry. We just wanted to try something new, and we wanted to connect. And I think we had a fabulous conversation, getting to know each other. Then,
Hmm.
interestingly so, I was thinking all along that it was the burrata that made the difference, and I actually tried having making some burrata sandwiches or something on burrata on my own, and I somehow just didn't feel the same experience. Uh, the reason I'm saying this is probably we think it's the burrata, but it's actually the moment that mattered to us was beyond burrata. I think the moment that mattered was for us was the uh, how we were emotionally connecting, how our senses were getting stimulated in that conversation is what mattered, I think. And and this is important because sometimes we think this when we send communication about our products to our customer, we think this is what customers want to hear. We believe this is the moment that we will create, but the reality could be something else. Actually, the moment that we want to create with our customers is not what we think is right for them. So that is what brings me to a two-way communication, where we just don't keep sending communication, but we also try and learn constantly what our customer needs and voices are. So capturing voice of our customer constantly and regularly will help us create that moments that truly matter to them. Because otherwise we'll for all our marketing life, we're going to just believe that what we have created for them is the moment that mattered to them, when it actually
Yeah.
didn't, you
Yeah.
know. Burrata was a great example to teach us this lesson, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I had a special moment this morning with a HCP. I can tell a little brief story about it. I tried to contact him about a month ago. He was on vacation, and his team says he would really want to talk to you about what you've got to share. Can you call back on this day? He's back from holiday. I called him the day he came back from holiday. I said, I know you're back from your holiday. This is a headline of what I want to talk to you about. He said, I want to listen to this. Call me back in 2 weeks' time. We can have a conversation. I called him yesterday, which was 2 weeks after he came back. And I said, do you remember? It's Marinaz. He asked me to call you back. He said, yeah, I'm in the middle of MDT. Can you call me back tomorrow at this time? So I called him back. And as he heard my voice, I said, I'm here, I'm calling back. He said, yeah, wait for me. He walked away from his computer. I could hear, like, he went to a quiet room. He said, now I'm in a quiet room. I really want to listen. And we had a telephone conversation. At the point in the conversation, I actually wished I could share a screen because it's easier for me to show what I was going to share with him. And I'll tell you, we discussed 3 products, and he's going to drive all three. And he said to me, my priority is I'm going to drive this product first for this reason, then I'll pick up on that. And all the time, I wasn't talking. I was really listening and taking notes. He was asking me questions. I was answering the questions. He was leading the conversation. And actually, at the end of it, I felt we had a moment because I was all focused around his need and his priorities, flexing around what he wants, when he wants it, and how that's going to help him. It's not about how many brands or how much sales I'm going to make. It's about aligning to his environment, the speed that they want to move. And I think understanding customers and really listening to them is so key, not just with our ears, but really listening to the sounds in the background, what they're telling us. They said, like, I can't promise you anything, but you might not hear this or might not sound it, but I'm really excited about this. But he said things don't move fast in this, area that I'm working. And I know that because I've had experiences, but I think really connecting with them on their agenda is so special because it makes us feel that we're part of the solution. We'll be moving at their pace, not our pace. It's not our agenda, it's their agenda. So I think realizing those moments and connecting with people is so important, but it means that you genuinely have to be in their shoes, not yours, not driving your agenda.
Yeah. And I think the best way to achieve that is to constantly, like you said, like have conversations, listen, and try to understand using the power of data, maybe to really understand them a bit more deeply. Just like any other relationships in the world, this is no
Mhm.
different. This is also a human to human relationship building exercise, and it takes time,
Yeah,
sometimes days, months, years. And then it really comes to the business question. As a company, how long are you able to invest and wait till you build that relationship? Or do you want to be smart and build that quicker by listening to them more often? Or are you okay to listen to them once in a blue moon and then get the best out of that once in a blue moon?
yeah. And
So,
also the channel is their choice. I mean, maybe I prefer to use Teams, but he prefers the telephone. He likes to walk away from it. He works in an open plan office. It's too noisy. He wants to have a more of a private conversation. He prefers to walk away. And I think recently I was communicating with another company. I'm using their service, and they have a Teams channel. They want communication to be through Teams, which is super organized and fine. I like it. But then they hit me with advertising on Facebook, and on the advert say DM me, like private message me. So I direct messaged the person, and she said, "Oh, can we have this conversation in Teams?" And I'm thinking, for God's sake, in your advertising, you're asking me to DM you, and now you're trying to control the channel I want to communicate with you. And I thought to myself, that's an example of a really bad customer experience. You should be open to receive my communication no matter what channel I try to communicate with you and flex, rather than trying to like be a policeman and drive directing my communication through this channel. I thought that was really poor customer service. That doesn't
like,
really create that customer experience that
yeah.
would delight
And
the
talking
end
about
user.
moments that matter, Marnas, you actually created a moment that mattered to me without you knowing you created. Actually, when
Oh,
we were in the back, yeah, actually, when we were in the backstage, you told me something very sweet. Like, you actually practiced pronouncing my name. And I have to give it to you for that, for doing it so well. And actually, somebody taking time to pronounce somebody's name, which is a bit complicated, is it's truly something that I'll remember always, isn't it? So
oh,
it's there you go. You created a moment that mattered to me
thank
without
you.
you knowing.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot because your family name, I had to break it down and ask Google pronouncer to tell me how to pronounce
Bad
different
idea.
sections. Yeah, thank you.
Google
So,
isn't trained to pronounce Indian names.
well, thank you for that recognition. It means a lot for me because I think it's important to pay attention to what is personal to you. So that brings us to a really nice segue to the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is the uh, personalization. When it comes to content creation, I want to ask you, who's responsible for personalization of content? You sit in the global team. Is it the job of
Yeah.
the global team, or is it the job of the affiliates? And I encourage our listeners to just jump in because I really want to hear what you're thinking. So, oh, we've got Paul here. So, he's made a comment about our pizza, and he says that's a topic that he understands. Paul, come into conversation and maybe ask Vanita a question. But I'm really curious to know, Vanita, whose responsibility is it for personalization? Because it seems a bit
It's
like
a
a
very
gray area.
loaded question, right? Just now we spoke about how every person in the organization who's responsible for communicating with customers need to have that mindset of putting themselves in the shoes of customers. So I think from a mindset standpoint, I think it's everybody's responsibility to think about one size doesn't fit all. That mindset should be generally there. But if you have to get to the practicalities of who really can execute it, I think somebody who's closer to the customers, it could be a local team who is much closer to the customers, who understand the nuances of the local customer groups, are the ones who really can execute it, right? But what is sitting in global, what is the role is we help in driving that mindset. We provide them the tool set and the skill set, because sometimes at least in a pharma organization, when there's a lot of global, regional and local responsibilities and roles that exist, and I think what global can really do is really help and activate and influence our internal customers who are closer to our real customers, and then our customers who are closer to the real patients and the people whose life we are impacting, isn't it?
Mhm.
So in a short format, personalization should be everybody's business, but it should also be the business of those who are closer to the business.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for the field teams. I think we need to give more power to the field team, treat them like adults and trust their judgment, because they have more information and more interactions with the customers, and they are humans, so they can personalize that communication. And I think traditionally pharmaceutical companies been quite restrictive about what they allow the field team to do or say. Say these are the messages you have to say this frequently, and you need to deliver it to these people. But the reality is, if you give them more freedom and empower them, they can actually divert the messages to people who probably get more benefit from it. Rather than, we don't need to promote everything to everyone. We can just personalize it to the ones who benefit from it most. And honestly, I think if we do that, we can deliver more value to HCPs, we can deliver more value to patients, but also the companies go to make more profit, because profit comes as a direct result of delivering value. Just stocking it, piling it high and pushing it to everyone is a lot of wasted resource and energy. And it actually turns customers off as well.
Absolutely. And I think, again, personalization is such a loaded word, right? Everybody, we can't just like that personalize. Like we spoke about, relationship building takes time and effort and a two-way communication and learning and understanding each other in that relationship. So I think the more you get to understand the way your customer behaves, prefer, what they don't prefer, and so it was an interesting thing. I was doing a course in UC Berkeley on marketing analytics, and personalization was a huge topic. And there was a big chapter or on personalization and segmentation and targeting and everything. And one thing that said is, we are always used to segment our customers on what makes them alike. So we have a tendency to create archetypes. Okay, I'm going to put all of them in this bucket. I'm going to put all of them in this bucket. But actually, true segmentation is what makes people different.
Hmm.
And that got me thinking, because in marketing, we always think, let's target based on what makes people alike. Right?
Hmm.
And I think for personalization, one is, again, coming back to the mindset, tool set, skill set. It also requires the use of technology. We can take the use of technology because there's a lot of data. If you need to do hyper personalization, like almost go from one to many to one to one, it's really impossible for the human brains to process and really understand what Myrna's will like, or what Paul likes here, or what I like. Now he says Paul has just revealed himself that he understands the subject of pizza. I didn't know this about Paul before, that he likes this
And
subject.
we don't know what type of pizza. That's quite general. We don't know whether he likes
Exactly.
thin
We
crust,
know for
deep.
now that Paul likes pizza, but we don't know still which pizza he really prefers, right? So it's as, again, can we personalize? Probably a little bit. We can do a personalization, but just imagine the amount of pizzas we need to feed Paul to make find out what he really likes.
And he can eat. He can eat for Britain. I'm
Yeah.
sure he doesn't mind me sharing that. I remember first time I met Paul in New York. He had met with someone and had lunch, and then he met with me and he had lunch again. I was most impressed. But he's really tall, so the food probably just reached his knees, and he
Yeah.
probably had
Suddenly
another
it's
lunch
become
with
like a
someone
Paul
else.
chat, right?
Paul, come and join us. Tell us what you think. Oh, hi, Rena. It's good to have you here. So let's see what Rena's sharing with us. Rena says, I struggle with everyone responsible for personalization. Like, we all own the customer relationship. How does that work in practical terms? Because with company processes, then an accountable person, like medical approver in MLR. So what's your thoughts on that, Vanita? And thank you, Rena, for joining us and asking that superb question.
It's a very, very important and a very nice question, actually. It's tough also, right? We are till today, we are, even in today's session, we are calling this a digital transformation, and many may not agree that it's transformation, right? Many think we have already transformed. Many think we have already reached omni-channel stage. Many think it's their responsibility, and they're all responsible for it. So I will come back to the whole mindset, tool set, skill set as my principle, because again, first of all, everybody should be on the same page that we agree to do personalization. So we need to get them on board, right? And then practical terms is get people on board internally, that we need to do this and why we need to do this. And I think that if we achieve that, we have crossed half the barrier, I would say. If people believe in your vision that we want to personalize, then they are more open minded to support you when you come with complex tools and technology that will support them to personalize. But because if they don't believe in personalization, if they truly believe that customers are segmented based on what makes them similar versus what makes them different, then we're not going to achieve that in practical terms. So first, get your teams on board. Second, have your tools in place, and then teach your team how to use those tools to personalize.
Yeah. So Paul's asking an additional question. He would love you to share what would be the future mindset or skill set of the representative and the marketing department would look like in the future. So would you be able to elaborate on that a little bit more, please?
Let me start with marketing, because I sit in a marketing team and the rep world. Let me try that. I'm not being a sales rep, but I love selling stuff. I can say that. So, marketing, right? I think marketers, at least sitting in global, they are super data driven. They're smart. They're one of the smartest minds in the organization, who love to crunch data and actually crunch that data, make them into insights, and create a strategy out of it. So I think they know how to use data, no doubt about it. And the way they use data is they collect data through market research. They prepare this really cool, detailed, comprehensive questionnaires or discussion guides, and really try to understand and ask the right questions to get the right answer so that they can strategize. So I think marketers are great at that. And then what happens after that, the future skill set that I think they should think is, one is they're very good in connecting the dots backwards from market research to strategy, but then are they able to connect the dots? Sorry, they're very good in connecting the dots forward to create strategy, but are they good in connecting the dots backwards? Like once you execute, your markets execute in the field, or actually they do talk to a customer and they do understand a customer, do they then use those insights to feed it into the strategic thinking? Or do they continue to use that sample size of market research to continue creating a new strategy? I would really like to see marketeers actually tap into their data brains and their skill set on using data to actually connect the dot backwards.
Hmm.
I think that for me will be like a great win if marketeers can get there.
Yeah.
Um,
If I had a magic wand, I would have three wishes for marketing. I think first of all, the brilliant analytics, and it's like the weather forecast. If the weather forecasters sit there and look at the satellites, they make some prediction. But I like the marketeers to stick their head out of the window every now and then and just feel the environment, see the customers. I mean, when's the last time a marketeer touched flesh with an HCPs and really, talk to them directly? I think that's my first, wish. My second wish is I want marketeers to ask the why question and so what? You know, you get busy doing, but why are we doing it? And what does it matter when it's done? Because I think everybody I talk to in marketing is so busy, like creating things that maybe is not necessarily going to add value, but they're just so busy. And it's like almost like we've got to get it done. We've got to get it done. So I think maybe be a little bit less task focused and ask the why question and be a kid saying like, so what if you had it? And my third wish is think about customer experience for the field team. I find so many times marketeers push out content out to the field team or processes, but they don't test it. And when you actually go through the steps, none of it is working. So think about, in the same way we treat external customers and try to focus about their customer experience, we need to think about medical, commercial, and all the other functions that we align with marketing. What customer experience are we creating for them, and just have the same mindset of customer experience internally as we have externally. Sorry, I kind of like felt I had to share my three wishes for marketeers.
I think that that is so true, and one is connecting the dots forward and backwards. But I think you raised a very valid point and a very important point, which is also close to my thinking, is talk more and more to the people at ground, right? And then I was just in we had a strategy summit last week, an internal strategy summit, where we were talking about the future therapy areas we are heading towards. What is our ambition? What's our vision for success and things like that. It was extremely inspiring because we got colleagues, cross-functional teams participate in this all over the globe, regional teams, local teams, MSLs, and some of the medical teams who have been doctors themselves. So I was having dinners with my MSLs and cardiologists and whatnot. It was quite interesting because we were talking about their struggles on ground. When I say their struggles, what are their insights? How, when they reach to the customer, what do they face? What do they really want? And then that's one perspective, right? What we need to communicate, and we need to understand our customers. But then there was also a reflection that we talk about all these terminologies, different disease indications and everything, but for a patient it is so simple. They don't understand the technical jargons that we use to talk about the nuances in disease. Like, let's say you have like some brain condition. It's just like they say I have a brain condition, they're not going to say what exact thing they have, right? Like, they're not going to say, oh, I have this brain tumor, or they're going to use simple words. Like, they're just going to say I have a heart condition. They're not going to say, oh, I had myocardial infarction and things like that. They're not going to learn and do that unless and until they're very savvy with these technical terms. So there's a little bit of the way we narrate as marketeers to our customers, so that they are well equipped to talk to patients who just understand simple terms, also matters. And I think as a future skills, I don't know if it's a future skill set, I think it should be a current skill set, that when we communicate in simple, less complex way, and in a way that is emotionally connecting.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's the art of storytelling. We've got I've got a LinkedIn Live PM talk coming with from PM Society in
And
November. So if you're interested in storytelling, join us for that session. I'll advertise it
absolutely,
on
I would
LinkedIn.
love it, because I think that's the art we all need to learn. No, it's like a life skill. I think it's a must learn and not a good to learn. And from a sales rep perspective, I think the future skill I would like to have is, of course, sales reps are used to build relationship in the most traditional ways, where they have a human to human conversation. But I was speaking with an MSL in the summit last week, and I was just talking about how she builds a relationship with her cardiologist, and she was just telling me some interesting things, how she uses data, how she uses different study results to go and talk. Then I asked her what is her view on using digital tools and data, and she was very excited. And she's a young millennial who's an MSL who wants to use, but does she know how to use? Is she taking advantage of that? And I know you're going to talk about Omni Advantage at some point, but I really connect to that, because I think sales reps should be motivated, inspired, and influenced to use those digital tools, so that they can have a more empowered conversation with
Mhm.
the sales with the customers, and they can also capture and record the amount of insights that they get on ground in a meaningful way, and feed it back to the marketing and the back office teams, so we can embed it in our activation strategy, and we can embed it in our brand and customer engagement strategy back in global as well. So we just need to capture all these moments and record it somewhere,
Yeah,
and we
I,
need
I
to
agree with you. I think there needs to be a lot more alignment between commercial teams, marketing, and medical. We're one team. We're not like silos. We need to break the silos and work together. And if we have a common goal, the data needs to be shared, the insights needs to be shared. And going back to your question, Rena, about who's responsible for personalization, we all are. So the best person needs to step up and do it, and everybody else be rallying behind them. And you're right. A lot of the field teams are not used to digital tools, digital processes, and maybe they've not had enough training to be able to get their arms around it. And I think for us to move forward, we need to step back, make sure everybody's on board, everybody's, confident using these tools, because empowering people and upskilling people means we can move faster forward. So rushing forward, leaving people behind, is not going to be proper digital transformation. It's going to be a digital drag, isn't it? And unless we engage
Absolutely.
people's hearts
It's
and
a
minds,
digital drag or a communication fatigue, right? Because we are living in a distracted world where the attention span is less than what a 3-year-old will have today,
yeah.
right? And I think we need to be extremely targeted in what we want to say. Like, two things if I learned as a personal development goal is, how can we help onboard the teams and bring
Mhm.
them along with you, and I'm still learning that. And the second thing is, how can you keep your communication simple, and what is the one or two things that you really want people to be onboarded on. Don't give them like a big list of items that you want to achieve with them. They're going to be lost again. Give them bite sized one two key messages that they need to adapt, they need to communicate. Then once they do that well, go to the next one, right? Just have a
Mhm.
phased approach, I would say. So those are the two things that is super key when it comes to communication or telling the story.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Bite size and small nuggets is more sustainable, and people can actually go and do it. If you give them a big shopping list, nothing gets done. I'm just conscious of time. I wanted to open a can of worm, and maybe we can open a can of worm a little bit and just close it.
I'm
I
going
was
to
going
open
to
that link
ask
that
you.
you shared.
I was going to ask you about agencies. That's opening the can of worm, because we're talking about how we're going to challenge the status quo, and when it comes to developing this strategy and being more creative, um, what do you see in that relationship? Who's the brain behind the strategy, and kind of like the artist behind the creativity? Is it going to be the global team, brand team, or is it going to be the agencies? What's your thought on that? I know you feel
It
quite
is,
passionate
it
about this.
is, it is indeed a can of worm. I mean, can I hide my face with this?
um Go for it, do what you like.
Just kidding. Yeah. Well, I think, of course, the global team is the owner of strategy, and they need to be accountable for that because they are also the owner of insights. They do a lot of hard work in doing market research and truly understanding the voice of our customers early on. And of course, agencies are enablers for us. They are like the article that you sent was so fab. You said agencies are like the sandwich fillers. And I was thinking about it. I was actually having sandwich for lunch today, and I was just imagining I was picturing this and the sandwich that I ate, and I was thinking, okay, imagine if my sandwich just had the bread, the best bread in the world, and then it had the best. Main item. It could be vegetables, or it could be anything. It could be whatever meat or whatever it has. But can I have that sandwich just with the bread and those vegetables? What makes the sandwich truly yum? It's the fillings, right?
Mhm.
It's you don't want your sandwich to be dry. You really, unless until you really like dry items to eat, that's another story. That's another persona of people. I think typically in general we all like a sandwich which we can bite into and which has the best filling in the world, right? And I think agencies are something like that, and I so connect with it. Agencies, while we are talking about change management and we're talking about mindset, tool set, and skill set, I couldn't stop thinking our agencies are on board with what we are trying to be on board with. Sometimes I don't know if agencies really, truly, genuinely support our cause of wanting to come with a communication narrative that connects with the customers and create moments that matter. And if we can achieve this with our agency partners in a genuine way, if we can bring them on board with our vision, rather than just saying, you know what, help us create a tactic, help us create a creative concept, help us create some key messages, help us create a e-detail, a website, make it modular, make sure that we are tagging it. It's so impersonal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think every member in the agency group should also be onboarded with this vision. And I really, it's very tricky, Myrnas. And I've not worked in an agency, so I can't really talk from their mindset. But I sit on the other side of the table and work with them, and I try every day to inspire the agencies that I work with, to bring them on board too, with the thinking. Sometimes I believe in being a partner rather than giving them the brief and they giving me the brief back, saying that, you know, this is how we're going to do, this is how we're going to do. I like to keep it more personal and practical, um,
Mm-hmm.
connected to our broader vision of success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say I can't take the credit for the article. The article was written by Chris Bartley and I just shared it. And if you not read it, please read it. I think it's really cute the way he explains the whole analogy of the sandwich. And I think one thing I would challenge is I think pharma is used to use their normal suppliers. I mean, to become a supplier to pharma companies, you need to jump through loops. So they go to the usual suppliers because they're already on procurement. But if you go to the usual suppliers and usually big companies, you're just going to get the same old, same old. I know some agency are so creative, they're cutting edge and really like innovating, but they don't get the opportunity to maybe have their pitch if they, not on the procurement. So I think pharma wants the agencies to be big so they can scale things up, but they also want it to be creative. The big ones have the scale, but they don't have the creativity. The little ones have the creativity, but they don't have the size appeal. So I think my suggestion is maybe pharma needs to be more experimental, maybe test with the innovators, the small, startups or smaller agencies that are coming up with novel, creative, off the wall ideas and just test, see whether it works. And maybe there need to be more collaboration between agencies that the big ones, partner with the smaller ones to be able to scale it up because we're in it together. We're all going to be patients one day. We're all going to be at the receiving end of all the services. So we need to fix this as a whole ecosystem rather than just thinking this is a problem and how we fix it.
And I
So that's
think
my
another, yeah.
go on.
And I think another reflection while you were speaking was about the we need to move more and more towards a multi-agency model, because it really depends, right? So when I remember my journey in the digital space almost 5 6 years back, when we wanted to set up a content factory in Novo, right? And then we decoupled creative from production,
Hmm.
and the reason why we did this was not just anything related to cost savings. Of course, that is a byproduct and a good byproduct of this whole exercise. But the real reason why we set up a content factory is because we wanted to own our data and insights on
Hmm.
what we do. Because I remember vividly 5 years back, we didn't have any idea about what we are doing, with whom we are doing, and where is it landing. Are people even using it? We just didn't know. And then we thought, if we really have to create an omni-channel customer engagement model at scale and create a sustainable model, we need to really have transparency around these insights on how our content travels through the content supply chain. So the content factory is rather setting up a world-class content supply chain, so we know at every step of the supply chain what the data looks like, and then we can use those insights to optimize and organize ourselves in terms of the effort that we do in creating content. So that is step one, right? And then I think that was a great success in at least in Novo Nordisk, where we tried to decouple this, and it took a lot of effort, mindset, tool set, and skill set shift to achieve this. But then now, cut to 5 years, I'm thinking, what can we do even better? And then sitting in marketing, I'm also thinking we should probably do another a little small decoupling, between creative and tactics, because I've come to understand that when we talk about creative, it's really the key messages, the core narrative, the concept, all that is great. use the agencies that can be truly creative, because creative agencies are also expensive in the sense, like, because we are hiring creative brains to do it. But when it comes to tactics, the question is, do we need creativity, or do we need the tactics to work in the platforms that we execute?
Implementation is key.
Exactly.
Excellence
So
in its
we do,
living truth.
what do we want to achieve? What is the end destination for your tactics? Right? It's actually the platforms in which they sit. And imagine, we talked about it, right? You can have the best brains in the world, we can have the best tools in the world, but if you don't know how to use it, it's as good as not having it. And similarly, you can have the best creative looking tactic in the world, but if it doesn't work in our platform, and if it doesn't achieve what it's supposed to achieve with your customers at that moment, it's as good as not having that
Yeah.
creative, putting that creativity to use. So it's a bold step where we are trying to further decouple creative from tactics, and we need to think and evolve into a multi-agency model and play with our strengths. I always believe in playing with your strengths, rather than trying to pose that, you are the most you are the person who can do it all, because I think we are humans, we can't do it all. So we need to really be practical here. And again, this is, I don't know if it's a future skill of a marketer, but maybe a future mindset or a current mindset in a marketer that I would like to see, where they truly understand that tactics are so critical, and they are critical for it to work in the platforms and the ecosystem that we have built. And again, another layer is, coming back to the sandwich example, I'm the best sandwich maker in the world. May work, but can your sandwich be consumed in our platform, is what I would like to ask.
Yeah.
Right?
I
uh,
think you cover so much ground. Tactical implementation is about implementation excellence, and that's the skill set and the tool set coming to it. And you're right. If it's not going to be fit for purpose for the platform you've got, it's not going to get used. So I think the secret is experimenting with the concept, with the ideas, see whether it actually works. And if it works, then scale it up. If it
yeah,
doesn't, just tweak it and make it
yeah,
work. So,
yeah.
yeah. Vanita, I can talk to you for hours. It's
Yes,
been
we can, I think.
amazing having you here, and I'm sure our audience really enjoyed hearing your perspective. I've had a couple of comments. I don't know who it is because it says anonymized LinkedIn Live user, but they love the conversation and love your contribution. So thank you for that. Also,
Thank
wanted to
you.
say thank you for anybody who joined us today and shared your comments. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Rena, for asking questions and adding to the conversations. If you watch this later, please continue chatting to us. We read your messages and the questions and respond to it. As I said, I'm really passionate about the human element of digital transformations. Like Vanitha says, you can have the tools, you can have the processes, but without the enabled people, the tools will stay idle. And transformation is a journey. And depending on where you are or where your field teams are, you need to give them the right tool and the right training to get them moving forward. Our multi award winning platform, Kimia Reset, has helped MSL's sales team to go from feeling really uncomfortable and unfamiliar using digital channels and content to, getting confident. And those who've completed our 6 weeks course are booking more appointments, smashing their sales target, earning bonuses, and progressing their careers because they are adding values to HCPs, because they're building trust. And I think for us, the next step in that journey is Kimia Readapt, is defining the 7 habits that are effective for hybrid engagement and giving pharma teams the ability to be able to create a competitive, tangible competitive advantage for themselves. So if you are a commercial leader, medical leader, or working in pharmaceutical industry, and you really want to upskill your field team to adopt technology and digital content and address this gap, now we've got a new tool for you. It's called the Omni Advantage. So I'm just going to share the screen. Omni Advantage is a handbook for commercial leaders, medical leaders, and this is what Paul Tunner says about it. If you are curious to get a copy, please point your camera to the QR code and download it. And really love to hear your feedback about it. Vanitha, you've had a chance to preview the book and read it. What's your thoughts? What's your parting message for our audience?
I think, Marnas, I've shared with you, but I would also like to share here that what I really liked in your book is you were very honest, quite brutally honest, I must say, in calling spade a spade. And not everybody does that, right? Most likely you see a polished version of things, but I think I loved your I don't care, I'll call spade a spade attitude the most. And you really touched a lot on the human element, and you walked the talk on that, which I think I really enjoyed reading, because it's been a while since I read. I like to read books in also bite size. So for me to complete reading your book was a feat. That means it kept me engaging. So in simple words, it was honest, engaging, and it had all the human touch. It was straight from your heart.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Paul, if you're curious to know what the future field team capabilities should look like, maybe read the chapter in the book where I talk about the 10 C's capabilities that we want to see in the field force. I just want to say thank you again, Vanitha. Thank you to our audience. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and can't wait to see you in person and give you a big hug, Vanitha. Take care.
Thank
See you.
you. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Yeah.